Welcome back to Invitation to the Cookout. It's your boy DapperDom. As always, I got my co-host TheeAlexMac in the building. It's just us today, man. It's just us today. But before we get into it, man, y'all already know we want to handle some business. And go ahead and hit that like, share, subscribe button. Each one reach one. What you tell them to do, man?
Tell a friend to tell a friend.
Hey, tell a friend to tell a friend. And whether you're watching us on YouTube, listening to us on Apple or Spotify, and we appreciate you accepting our invitation to the Cookout. Now, before we get into it, first segment of our show is called Chop It Up, where Alex and I typically catch up, talk about current events, and maybe even give you a little appetizer to what's to come more in the, later on in the show. But today, like, I want to catch up for sure. Like we've said before, we do a podcast together, and people probably think y'all guys talk talk every day, see each other every day, man. I know you've been busy with work, travel, basketball. I think it's something that we need to do a better job at as people checking in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because sometimes we sit in our silos and be like, well, they hit me up.
Yeah. Yeah.
They might be going through something, sitting there saying the same thing. Well, guess nobody cares about what I'm going through. True. So even if it's just a text message saying, hey, just thinking about you, hope all is well. If not, I'm here for you. So look, I'm here for you today. What's up, man? How you feeling, man? Before we get into it.
Woo, your boy feel like he in the ocean, man. I'm trying to peek up over that thing with no life jacket, man. But I do think that that's very critical coming off those last two episodes that we've talked about. If you haven't caught them,
go
listen to them. You got to check them out, man. There's some powerful ones. We have, 2 episodes, one with Lucian Isaac.
Yes.
A licensed counselor.
Dropping gems too, y'all.
Some serious gems, man. It was really good to have him here, with us and really to kind of, mix things up for us. And then we hit you with another one straight out the barbershop. Shout out to Coach Q at Elite Barbershop, showing us some love, letting us use that space. And really just talking, with us men, black men, what are we going through? What did we grow up with? And I do think that, a lot of times, like you said, it's heavy, man. We're dealing with a lot. We're dealing with, work, relationships. We're dealing with dreams, aspirations. And there's only so much time, within a day, man. And I do think that sometimes that could be what swings it for somebody. Yeah, somebody that's in a dark place is like, man, someone reached out to me and checked on me and that really shifted my mental. And I think the other thing is also just about having your priorities right. Like I actually had a conversation with a young man this past weekend, leaving the gym, and he was like, man, you do so much. Yeah. He said, man, like you working, like you do your podcast, like you coach all these teams, like, and every time I see you show up, it seems like you got it all together. Yeah. I was like, don't let that fool you. I was like, do not. And I think some of that goes back to what we've talked about in terms of wanting to present that exterior of I've got it all together and really just, getting through things. But I think the connection that really helped that young man was hearing me say, I don't have it all figured out. Yeah. Instead of just sitting there like, man, yeah, I do this and I do that. It was like, and there's sometimes when I'm just like, I'm just, going through the motions, or I'm just trying to figure things out at the same time. But, you see that energy, on my face and sometimes it energizes others. I know Antonio, talked about that a little bit about, feeling like, being that energy factors for others. So I think sometimes it's just about letting that face down and being vulnerable because people can connect to that. And then I think when you are vulnerable, then it creates that understanding, between two sides, man. So, everything is it's not bad. It's a real chaotic. I wouldn't even say busy. It's just a chaotic season, just bouncing all over the place. If you haven't got a chance to check out our IG and see us cover the Bentonville Film Festival, that we had a lot, going on there and some great opportunities and hopefully some things we can continue to share with you all. So just, it's one of those things I tell people, like I can't complain about blessings that I've asked for, right? It's just, how do you manage it? How do you prioritize it? And at the end of the day, make sure that, you're taking care of yourself so you can continue to do it,
Sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Well,
What about you, man? What's going on in your end?
You know, I started the new job a few weeks ago, so just learning that. You know, I talked about in the Lucian episode, I think, about where I thought I would be in life, and thought I was going to be in Walmart, 20, 25 years, retire, do what's next, but it didn't happen that way. So just pivoting, per se, just trying to understand that, hey, here's where I need to be, here where God wants me to be, what am I supposed to learn in this space? And then also, too, how do I keep growing my training business as well, working full-time, coaching my son's teams, being a husband.
It's the same type of plate over there, man.
And so it was funny that, because I was at home a couple of weeks ago for the 4th of July, and I was sitting on the back deck with my dad, a couple of my cousins, man, a couple of homeboys, and I was like, I'm about to be 40. And I used to look at the adults, like,
man.
that thought they had it all figured out, and I was like, they probably just winging this shit like we winging this shit, man.
We didn't know. We didn't know
like
back
you said,
then.
because they had this face on
an exterior.
An exterior that thought that they had it all together, but we don't. We try to figure it out together.
It's not always okay.
But like you said, I'm blessed.
Yeah. So you talked about all those different things that you have going on.
Yeah.
And, today we're going to get back into some food stuff. And when you're going through a busy season, right? Coaching and all of that, you're outside of the house quite a bit. A lot of things going on. Like, what runs through your mind in terms of making food choices in those seasons where it's just a lot going on? Like, do certain things take a step back? Like, are you a food prep guy? Are you a meal planning? Or what does that kind of look like?
What's on the grill today? We're going to talk about what's a food desert. Talk about things, issues that causes food deserts. It's going to be our topic today a little bit. We're going to dive a little deeper into it. But to answer your question, conveniency really is conveniency. It's probably a huge driver. What's going to be the easiest, whether my wife is cooking, whether I plan on cooking, what's going to be the most easiest and efficient, but also with some nutrition in that too as well. Trying to balance that as well will be the three things I think about when I'm trying to decide what to eat. And also too, you don't want to eat the same things over and over.
A little variety. You want, and I ask that because I think that is a good intro as we kind of talk about food deserts and we talk about, I think there's a lot of connectivity in this topic, and I think it starts on food decisions, psychological, but I think it also ties to food literacy. And is there, I'm not going to say it's a myth, but what are the things we think about in terms of when people are thinking about eating healthy, whatever that means to people, because I have my thoughts on it. What are the decisions that are going into what they're choosing to eat, right? But what's the history and the psychology behind those decisions? Because I think that plays a great part. And I think when you said convenience, if you could have seen that light bulb go off in my head, that was a big piece of.
So let the people know, what is a food desert?
Yeah, so food desert is a area that has a lack of supermarkets within a 1 mile radius of a community. And 1 mile may not seem like a lot to a lot of people, but depending on certain areas.
For urban areas, if it's more than 1 mile.
Yes.
Rural, if it's 10 or more miles.
Yeah, which 10, you start to, if you're in the country somewhere, that can be a trek, right? And so the layers that you kind of start to think about it, and there's a lot of, history behind it, is, well, how do we get in the spaces in terms of, where we lived at and what really contributed to it. But when you kind of go back to just the definition, that first piece of it is really, if you took one word out of it, it's access or lack of access to a specific community. So I think that's where you start at, is the lack of that access.
Look, you know I like to joke. Well, one of the two words that used to trick me up as a kid, it was desert and dessert. I was like, how do you spell?
Trust me. And when I was doing our show notes earlier, I was typing stuff. I'm like, man, you know better than this.
It's still good. Used to trick me. But as we were talking about, like, what's a food desert? Where did that come from? I'm gonna ask you a question. Do you think? Because we try to backtrace things to like history and things of that nature. So, do you think when you had redlining and stuff like that during segregation time frame, do you think like that's where that stemmed from? Because I mean, if you think about it, our lineage is farmers and sharecroppers because we were the ones in those fields working.
Who know better than us, baby?
And so, but then when those urban areas start to grow, and then you heard about white flight and things of that nature, African Americans couldn't get certain loans to live in certain neighborhoods. Do you think that was a start of it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
For me, food deserts are, and keep up with me because I'm gonna take us back a little bit. But food deserts to me are tied to two things. And the research I've done and just kind of looking through things, I think it's one, redlining for sure.
Okay.
And then I think the part that you can kind of weave into that is called the Robinson-Patman Act of 1936. Okay. So we'll jump back to redlining. Essentially what happens is it started with the housing industry. And so they had red, blue, yellow, or actually green, blue, yellow, red is the way that it went. And so the way that they kind of determined that they were going to give out loans is by how they would color or zone maps off zone communities with color. So green was like highly desirable. Yellow was desirable, but our blue was desirable, but not the cream of the crop. Yeah, for sure. Red was starting to decline. Yellow was starting to decline. You guys gotta help me get my colors in order. And then red is the red line, and basically saying like, hey, don't go there. Don't put any resources there. So it started with houses, but it created a domino effect because everybody could see it. So if the people feel like the community is unsafe because there's a stigma of saying money equals security, so that the people here can't afford to buy nice houses, so it creates a unsafe stigma. And that stigma, to be fair, or however you see it, I think some of that stigma coming out of the time that this was going on, during the pre-civil rights era, you'd have to say that race has something to do with that as well. Is that, hey, I don't want to be, we're not used to being around black people, and a black person feels unsafe to me. Yes. So as you started to drive them out of those communities, and you mentioned a word earlier around white flight, well, they started to go to the suburbs en masse and say, you know what, this is our area. The green areas are the suburbs, right? And so you start to see that have a domino effect in terms of what industries wanted to put resources in those communities. They could see the maps as well in real time. So they could go through there and say, oh yeah, like we want to open a Dominick's in town, and oh man, like it looks a little ran down over here, or I'm not really seeing some, good people it doesn't seem like it's safe around here. So they started to pull back on putting resources in those areas for those specific reasons. And they would tie it to security. They would tie it to economic advantages. I've seen research that says, and I don't know how true that it is, I feel like it's a little biased, but some of it said that they felt like those communities could not uphold the high profit margins that supermarkets typically would have, that they thought that they could get in suburbs, which pretty much, for those of you who may not know what a profit margin just means, that they're going to make more on any given item that is sold. And so they don't want to create lower profit margins to have to sell in those neighborhoods. So redlining definitely is, to me, a part of that recipe to creating food deserts.
But I think, though, to your point, we talking about where it started, I think that still happens today. I think retailers look and see, hey, where, one, like, what's income level? Like, looking at income level, and income level also, too, plays a part in, like, food deserts, because they're looking at, hey, what you talk about, profit margins, like, is my store, shop, whatever that might be, going to be profitable if I put this in this neighborhood? Because they also calculate things like shrink.
Yep.
Shrink is something is pretty much theft.
There you go.
Yeah,
Come on now.
pretty much theft. Like, shrink is, hey, we're going to lose items because somebody stole. We're going to lose sales, profitability because, and so we're looking at crime. We're looking at income. And so we're not going to put this Whole Food or whatever quote unquote supermarket in these neighborhoods because we're not going to be profitable because we're going to lose. And so low income families, caveat to that or correlation to that, not going to have access to some of those healthier food options per se.
Yeah, is that 100%? I don't know if you remember during COVID, in Chicago specifically, there were a lot of stores that were ransacked. Like, people just went crazy, high def. And I remember people felt like Walmart was going to pull out at the time. And then I remember Doug came and said, no, we're going to commit to this. But then I know, probably as recently as last year, some of those did end up getting closed in the Chicago area and in some of those urban areas as well, where they're saying we're going to take this away because, if I'm going in and I've seen things where they've had the wire nets with the security tag on meat. On meat. Not PlayStations, AirPods, on meat. You know what I'm saying? So there is a trickle down effect on what that looks like. And, to get a little bit off topic, people have been hearing a lot about the boycotts, right? And Target being boycotted. And I've heard, maybe Dollar General's next. And people ask, why not Walmart, right? And not here to be a spokesperson. Do not work for Walmart anymore, okay? So I'm good here. But I do feel like that is a space that really focuses on low cost. And so for some people, that's the best thing that they have in their communities. I think the stat was that it's, within 90+% of Walmart's within 1 mile of 90% of the American population. So, for some people to take that option away, either being removed because we're having issues with theft in the community, or to say, hey, we're going to walk away from it, that could be their last option before they are in a food desert, right? You know what I'm saying? So I do think that access is important. And the second piece that I'll shine some light on is what I talked about, the Robertson-Patman Act of 1936. And so essentially what that said is that retailers had to provide fair prices with manufacturers and suppliers, right? So they couldn't necessarily cut deals and say, hey, we're going to give you this ginger ale because you're at Walmart at $1, but we're going to give, Dominique's corner store, we're going to give it to them for $2 because we feel like, they don't have the scale, a term, kind of an industry term that we use, just means, the volume or the amount of a product that you can buy to be able to get you a better cost. They give it to you for more. And so essentially it said that everything had to be fair across the board, because what you were starting to see around that time is the proliferation of really supermarkets. They were starting to take over, and the mom and pop stores were starting to get pushed out. And so it was to try to make it equal playing ground for everybody, to say that we can all coexist. On pricing, it also was on like marketing and promotions. So everything had to basically, unless there was justification as to why, hey, I'm going to give it to them at this, and I'm going to give it to Walmart at this, and I'm going to give it to Dominique's at this, then they had to give it at the same prices. And once you saw that started to be enforced less and less, I mean, obviously, because you got Amazons, you got Walmart. So if it wasn't enforced as much, you wouldn't have.
I was going to ask
that
you,
happening.
how do you feel about, because August is coming up, that small business month.
Yeah.
Do you think some of these bigger retailers are pushing out mom and pop stores, and then how do we support those small stores? Because like you said, Walmart is a mile within 90% of the country, and so we talk about conveniency. And so how do we get out of our own way and say, I'm gonna drive a little bit further so I can go support this? But then I think too, though, we have an online piece. Now I know it's probably a little tougher too for small businesses cost wise. And when you talk about scale and capacity, if I'm not shipping as much, like my cost is going to be higher. How do you think major retailers has played a part to continue to push small businesses out?
To me, America's founded on greed.
Okay.
I mean, it's what I think the last time I checked, Walmart was revenue over $600 billion.
No.
That's not a lot of money. I don't even know if that's an insane amount. I don't even know if there's a word to really talk about how much money in perspective that really is. We've worked there. We know people that work there. We know people that are high up there, and we know what kind of things are kind of coming to everyone, right? And so if you look at it, there's nothing that tells me that any of it's going to stop. I remember specifically in high school, small town, Carmen, Illinois, there was a Walmart that was being proposed right next door in a town called Murfreesboro. And I wrote a paper about it, about why people are so vehement about, Walmart not coming in. And I think a lot of it talked about the breakdown of the infrastructure within smaller towns, right? And what they have, because I don't only think that it's about in this topic, it's about the offering of items that we feel like could kind of tip the scale in terms of diet and kind of give us a better health picture as a community. But it's really about how are you supporting the everyday businessman, the guy that has, maybe not even an acre, but he grows tomatoes and eggplants and peppers, right? He's a part of the fabric of that community, and in a way that's not just based off of, I want to make money, I want to be a millionaire and a billionaire. Nothing wrong with it, but those people were like everyday men and women, right? They just wanted to make a little bit. They wanted to help the community, and that was kind of their role.
Well, how do we take care of those individuals? Because we have the farmers market here.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I didn't even know what a farmers market was.
Yeah. Some good stuff out there too.
It is some good stuff until probably 10 years ago. So I don't think my hometown had a farmers market, quote unquote. We used to have people selling watermelons and peaches and different fruits on the side of the road. Yeah. But how can we both exist in this ecosystem?
Yeah.
Because if I'm playing devil's advocate, I can say, well, if a retailer comes in, a mass retailer comes in, they're providing X amount of jobs. Yeah. They're generating X amount of money for that community. How do we balance providing jobs but also taking care of the fabric or the foundation of small towns?
I agree with you. It's funny that you say devil's advocate, because literally in my mind it popped up in what you were saying, and on just a little religious note, they talk about how the devil knows scripture. Okay. So I think about the whole devil is like, he knows how to make it seem a good way. That all sounds good. Okay. But that's all, and I've done that. I've done that rodeo. Yeah. That's all to make it be like, give me more of your money. Okay. Let me make you psychologically feel good about me so that you can lower your thoughts and bring more money to me. But that's another kind of intrusive thought.
So from a food desert aspect, how do we get into these communities who don't have access?
I think it comes down to food literacy to me.
Yeah.
We've talked about financial literacy, right? And we've, and I think we can put that word around a lot of things. Is literacy to me, and I'm not going off Webster's, I'm just going off the top of the dome, really comes down to a fundamental understanding of a given concept.
Okay.
Right? So when you talked about it, you just said part of what you talked about with the farmers market could go to food literacy. Could there be literature? Could there be, could there be a IG page where people are talking about, hey, here are all the farmer markets across America that we're highlighting, that we want people to know or accessible to you. So I think that's one piece, because some of that comes from, and I do agree, it comes from the education portion of things, and not traditional education, but what did you grow up around? Like, you may have said, hey, there was nothing there. We had a farmer's market in my town, and my mom and dad was.
I'm not saying we didn't either.
Yeah,
I just didn't know.
Exactly.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Exactly.
My grandmother had a garden, so she had tomatoes, she had turnip greens, watermelons. She grew from peppers. Yeah. So.
Yeah,
I knew about that, but I didn't like that.
You did. So some of that is okay to me. Is where are the people, and where do we put some of that on our shoulders? We've talked about our platform. Where are there other people out there that are food market ambassadors that are talking about these things and educating these people?
And if you're listening to our podcast, hit us up and let us know.
Please,
we want to share this information.
Yes. Please, we want to be a part of the solution. I think that's what this all comes around to. So I think we talked about access. Now we kind of talk about the literacy and the education part of things through programs like food markets and our neighborhood markets. And I think the other piece of it too is, how can we use technology? Is always going to be a fabric of America. How can we use that to help out, right? Like, are there ways where, okay, you can't get to us, but we can get it to you, right? Like, are there things where we can, where you can, have a Uber Eats, but it's for food markets, right? Or tap into something like that to say, hey, because transportation is a big part of that. If you look at many urban zones, a lot of them are using mass city transportation.
For sure.
So they may not have the ability to get somewhere that's 1 or 2 miles, or they may not have the funds to get 1 or 2 miles. Because I think a lot of times we have to remove that bias in terms of saying, like, everyone doesn't have a car. Everyone doesn't have gas money. So some of the things, the things that we've become accustomed to, everyone does not have access to that type of lifestyle.
To that point, you have these retailers who have these programs where you can get free shipping, things of that nature. But what if I don't have $100K to spend on a membership? Like, I don't. And here's the thing: I'm not even going to say I don't have $100K to spend on it. I just, because we spend money in places that
where we want to,
for sure. But I think it goes back to that literacy part of saying, what kind of programs can we create for low economic households to say, if you're under this threshold, you get a free subscription. That way you can get your groceries delivered to you. But also too, we have to choose those items. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think we're going to choose.
Come on, that's the third leg on my stool. So, come on.
Yeah, I don't think
teeing it up like we at the Derby.
I don't think we're choosing those options either as well, even when we have opportunities to choose that option. So how do we educate individuals on healthier options for them? You know what I mean? Like, understanding what's a simple carb versus a complex carb. You know what I mean? That's the difference in, for example, like white bread versus whole wheat. Like, that white bread's going to break down faster, turn into sugar faster, going to get a quick jolt of energy, but it's not going to be good energy. Versus the complex carb was whole wheat bread, slower to process, sustainable energy over time, and is not going to digest in your body the same as the white. You know what I mean? Like, understanding those different things.
I think what you just did right there is a snippet of what that is about. I do agree that there is a lack of choice when we're getting to the shelf. Some of that is background. So this is how my mama shopped. This is what my mama brought into the household. This is what grandmama brought in the household. This is what I'm going to bring in. And I've long said on a lot of our shows, our community is a big historical community where we pass things along. So whatever you saw before you definitely plays a big part in that. I think I've used this example before. Like, my wife didn't grow up eating avocado. I did. So there were things like that where I read stuff there was like, okay, just to have a little bit of fun, if I was to take 10 black people up here and be like, did you grow up eating quinoa?
I mean, what is quinoa?
Did you grow up eating kale? Yeah. Did you grow up eating, acai?
Lentils?
Chia seeds? Like, again, I know our community. I always say I can only talk from my experience of being a black man. I don't think that we would get even close to 50%. Yeah. I don't think we would get to 5 out of those 10 people that will say, this is something that I grew up on. Yeah. And some of that goes to media and how media has drove some of those things in terms of impressions across society. But I think a lot of it does go back to the basics in terms of, I kind of think about it in what is your long-term health profile? And that's hard to think about, even for the healthiest of person. Yeah, for sure. When I'm leaving practice and I have to get something to eat, am I thinking about, well, I ate fast food 4 times. How is that habit going to affect me when I'm 50, 60, 70, going to the doctor? We're not thinking about that. Yeah. We're thinking about these kids back here yapping. They talking about they hungry. I'm tired. I done worked all day. I done coached. Ain't nothing out the freezer to cook. And so in that moment, we go with convenience. Yeah. Right? And so I think a lot of it is understanding, okay, there's always choices. Yeah. Okay. There's most of these places understand that, and they give you options. Yeah. Whether it's saying, okay, I'm gonna go to Zaxby's. I'm not gonna get the wings and things. I'm gonna get a salad. Yeah. I'm not gonna get the fried Cobb salad. I'm gonna get the grilled Cobb salad. Yeah. I'm not gonna get so maybe I'll get some ranch because I got a salad and I got it grilled. Or maybe I don't want to get the ranch. I want to go and get the low-cal vinaigrette, right? Mm-hmm. So in that moment in time, even without going through any education, you can know, okay, this is better than getting the wings and things right then and there.
But we talk about choices. They don't taste better than the wings and things.
I'm with you. I'm with you. When you got that Zax sauce and that sweet and the hot and spicy is glistening off the wings, I understand. Trust me. I'm in the same boat in a situation, and I think a lot of it goes into when you equate that to the shopping side of things and going to buy stuff. I think it has to go down to, like, we vilified so many things. Okay. If it's not organic, you got to have organic. You got to have grass-fed this. You got to have, it's like, okay, maybe you can get fresh fruits and vegetables, but can you get frozen? Yeah. Can you get canned? Yeah. Like that, at the day, that's still better than going and saying, hey, I'm going to get, some hamburgers and fries because I know that I can do it quickly. I can get it done at convenience. Yeah, that's what it keeps circling back to that word.
Yeah. So also too, we talked about redlining earlier in the show. Like that was a systemic way of keeping us in certain places. What do you think about, have you heard the term food swamps?
I have heard the term food swamps. I haven't gotten super familiar with it. Yeah.
From my basic understanding, I think it's where they looked at, where you said how retailers looked at green. Mm-hmm. Oh, this is where we should put our money. Mm-hmm. Food swamp on the other side is, hey, they're lower income, so let's put
liquor stores and convenience stores. Yeah,
convenience stores. Mm-hmm. It almost reminded me of that scene from Boys in the Hood. Where he's talking to Trey and Ricky about Why do you see liquor stores on every corner here?
Every corner.
Yeah, but Food Swamp is pretty much saying systemically, like, I have a business. I know that I want to sell. I have a lot of processed food. I can sell it for cheap, and these people are going to buy it. Like, I'm gonna put and to the flip side of, like you just said, I got 4 or 5 kids. What's the cheapest way and most convenient way for me to feed them? Is it McDonald's or is it Chick-fil-A?
So I think there's 2 things to that. I think it goes back to my
because you don't see Chick-fil-A on every corner. You know what I mean? Like, they know these.
You ain't never seen no Chick-fil-A in the hood.
These industry people know, like where they're putting their restaurants and stuff, and who's going to buy it. So,
they do research.
Yeah,
they do.
Sure.
I will give you an example. I remember we were looking at. I was in seafood at the time, and we were looking at our frozen seafood assortment. And we specifically had a conversation about crab legs. Yeah. And the conversation basically centered around demographics.
Okay. Well,
because everything, when you go and purchase something, you create basically a record of data for anything that you buy it from. And they go back and look at that. So like you said, they know, like, okay, I know down in like, urban Louisiana, man, they love them some crab legs. Yeah. Okay, well, who's in urban Louisiana?
Yeah.
Okay, black folks. Yeah. By, disproportionately, right? So they definitely, every company that you interact with, whether it's shoes, whether it's food, whether it's technology, anything that you buy, they have a department that's centered on research, because that research is aimed at helping them make more money. Yeah. So they're going in and saying their obligation, and we can argue on if it's morally right or wrong. It's nothing. It's for them is to make money. Yeah. And if you're a part of that along the way, then so be it. If you're gonna go and get your chicken and biscuits and fries and your malt liquors and your Hennessy's, they just and your Black and Milds, they gonna keep pumping it in. The only way we vote, when we start going back to the little bit, to earlier bit, we vote with our dollars. Yeah. That's not all of our power, but in America, a system that's built off capitalism, that's how you cripple somebody. Yeah. That's how you get them up out of there saying, we're not gonna buy that. We're not just gonna go in there and just buy up all the liquor every single day and buy up all the Swisher Sweets. We're not doing that. And what happens with a business when they start to decline? They get on up out of there. They say, no, this is not working for us. So a lot of that is we have to vote with our dollars. Now, I think there's a part that people fail that maybe, I don't want to make it seem like it's so easy, because there is, I think, a psychological part to this. That's what commercials is about. Okay. You ever been at home and that's what I'm saying. Sure. Now, I had one time, I had not ate Burger King in years, Dom. Yeah. And that commercial came on, and I was like, dang, that look good. Like, Dom, the deal in the price. I ran up out. I said, man, I'm about to go get. My wife looked at me like, Burger King commercials. They are trained to pump it out, and you hear it in the radio, you see it on your phones, you like, man, and then don't add a price in and say, hey, I can get 8 pieces of chicken for the price of 4, and I can get extra biscuits. Oh, you definitely going in. So there's that part, the psychological piece that has a hold on us, and it's not just with that, but it's the psychological piece is telling us it's more convenient for you to eat with us than for you to take maybe 5 extra minutes and say, okay, if I get a bag of frozen chicken, if I get a thing of white rice, if I get some frozen veggies, let's just stop there, okay? That's a good enough base meal right there. Yeah. Chicken, veggies, rice.
You got your protein, got your carb, got your veggie.
Right?
Which I think I've seen before what they call like the magic plate. It's supposed to be like 2 cups of vegetables, like a cup or so of protein, and a cup or so of a carb.
Mm-hmm.
Carb is a carb. I would go complex versus simple.
Yep.
But if let's just start out. If it's rice versus a lentil, it's healthy. Yeah.
So you got your magic plate. That's better than going and saying, "Hey, I'm gonna go to the frozen section and get 3-4 pizzas." Mm-hmm. And a lot of times there are some people, but I don't believe that we're going and we're saying, okay, no one's comparing to saying, hey, if I get that bag of frozen chicken, 5 pounds of frozen chicken, a sack of rice, vegetables, and I compare it to that, that's also something because that you can eat on for more than that meal at a time. Yeah. So you want to tell me...
Depending on how big your family is.
Yes, okay. Yeah. So depending on how big your family is, we got to add that caveat then. Yeah. But I feel like, you could go in and see that and say, that's a pretty comparable price, if not better, depending on if I just say, hey, I'm not worried about all the other fluff words and, raised free and all that. I'm just worried about chicken, rice, vegetables. I think you can get something that's comparable to if you were to say, hey, I'm going to get a bag of fries. I'm going to get some hamburgers. I'm going to get some hamburger buns.
Because on average, your cost probably going to be $7.
Yeah.
Say you got a family of 5. I'm probably lowballing this. You go to McDonald's, probably average of seven across the board. So $35.
Oh, you definitely lowballing.
That's what I'm saying. Ooh. But I'm helping them out. 35. Mm-hmm. What can I do with that 35 at the grocery store?
I can guarantee you right now, without looking at anything, you can get all those 3 things that I named. You already got the seasons at home. You got the cooking oil. You can get the chicken, the rice, and the veggies all from the 35. I guarantee.
No, I know that, but I'm saying like how many more meals? We probably can get at least 2 to 3 meals off that 35 versus that 35 I just spent for one.
Yeah. Oh yeah, easily 2 for sure. Yeah. 2 for sure because then you already have. You got to think that when you go to get certain meals. I like to think of certain things as staple items, right? Yeah. They can be used across multiple things. Yeah. When you go to McDonald's, that's a one usage occasion. Okay. Meaning you're getting that for that period in time right there. Okay, I could take that rice. Maybe it's leftover. Maybe I don't want that again. Yeah. I could turn that into fried rice. I could turn that into dirty rice. So that chicken has versatility in other things. That rice has versatility in other things. The vegetables have versatilities. If you're going to say, I'm going to get some canned tomatoes and I'm going to get all those things have multi-eating occasions that you can have with them. Whereas when you go and get some of these things, if I get a hamburger bun, and when we can take it back, like when I grew up, you had bread, okay? We didn't get to have all the different buns and stuff. Sometimes the hamburger was on bread, the hot dog was on bread. We was getting spoiled if we got buns sometime. So when you look at all those things, it's like, I'm only really using it for that specific purpose. So, and I'm not saying that's in all occasions, but we just broke down and we can do a little exercise. People can fact check, but I can tell you right now, if you take that average family of 5 and you take what I did, that is cheaper. So where is this, it costs so much to eat expensive it costs so much more to eat healthy. Where's that coming from? When someone can give you a valid example right in front of you.
I think it boils down to choices, like you said, like making a different decision. But how do we train ourselves in that aspect? Because I think that's the biggest hurdle to get over of understanding, making a different decision. Like, I can go, same person who, we've been talking about food deserts and not having access to it, but say somebody who does have access to it, even though they're going to that supermarket, they're not making.
Yeah, at the shelf, they are not making those choices. I think it comes down to the education and literacy, because some of it is when you get there is what you've already seen. Some of it is what makes you feel comfortable, and some of it is convenience. Because it's like, I know if I get hamburgers and fries, that's the meal right there. I don't have to think about anything else. Yeah. Now, if I want to make something healthy, it's like, I got to figure out, my kid don't like this vegetable, but they like this one. And, I had to figure out, like, I don't like making rice. It's not easy. Like, there's just all these things, maybe anxiety at the shelf where it's just like, I don't want to deal with that. I want to pick this. So I do think that there is an education piece of it because, again, our perspective, you're well educated. You've done some advanced education within this realm on food. I have as well. Not everyone is there. Yeah. So what we feel like what we just broke down is just common knowledge. For a lot of people, it isn't. For a lot of people, that will probably be like, I didn't know that. Yeah. I didn't realize that. I've just always felt like, hey, I can just go and get this and this average of $7 and we can be good to go. But then it also takes into that account of most places understand, and there's, if you start to think about the administration right now, what they're doing with the MAHA, Make America Healthy Again, some of these things are going to start to be, rolled into mandates and laws. These places do have options. But again, it goes back to that choice. Do you want the wings and things, or do you want the grilled salad?
I think it's about balance because I'm gonna do both, but also, like you said, long day, and if we're really talking about food deserts, you're for the most part talking about blue collar workers, working multiple shifts and multiple kids and above the below the poverty line. And I think there's a scale. If you're a single household and you make less than 15, that's some change, and then it kind of goes up in increments of like almost like a little over 5K as you add. So if I have a household of 2, then it's 21. There's some change below. 3 goes up to 26.
Yeah,
but and so on. Trying to get back to my point. What I was saying is, how do we also factor in long term? Because you said earlier, when I got the kids in the back hungry, like we didn't have practice, I'm tired, I'm finna go with most convenient. We don't think about what is this going to do to me, not even tomorrow. So definitely not thinking 5, 10 years down the road. So I think also another layer that food deserts create is obesity.
It's proven.
Diabetes.
Yeah, high blood pressure. Just keep going.
Yes.
So it's showing that we're not being balanced. It's showing that we're continuing to make the same choice of food daily, monthly, yearly.
Yeah, and we're just finding another way to kill ourselves in our community.
Yes.
I think that's the biggest piece of it. Like, because what you said, like we're so used to. Oh, my mom was diabetic. So I'm diabetic. She
passed it on.
High blood pressure. We just gonna take these pills. My daddy had high blood pressure, so I got high blood pressure too. So I'm just gonna take this medication. Versus food is medicine too.
Yeah.
And I think that's the piece we need to get more in tune with in our community is food is medicine.
Yeah. And I think the same way. Like you said, I would love for people to engage with us, tell us about some of these resources. I've read a lot in certain areas where people are bringing back community gardens, free community gardens. Something I benefited from growing up was churches that gave out boxes of food, right? And it was usually pretty balanced in the things that they offered. So I do think it's some of those things similar to like a mental health is. Also, maybe people don't understand that there are some resources out there, and how do we shine a light on that? Because I do that. Having food deserts is not new, and there's obviously people that are out there that are doing this work, have been talking about this longer than just this episode that we're going to put out. But then, how do they get that understanding and that light shined on? Hey, if you're struggling with this, or if you just want to just remove the piece of having to, I think you've talked about this before, decision fatigue, right? And not having to think about how I'm going to put all this together, go to X, Y, and Z that puts boxes of meals together that have nutritional value and X, Y, and Z. I know that there are things that are out there like that, but how do we shine a light? And then how do we increase having more of those accessible and available.
Yeah. Now, we say at the Cookout, you're going to leave more than food on your plate.
Yes,
what do you want the people to take away from this episode on their to-go plate?
For me, anybody who, if you've watched the show, listen to us. If you have not, I'm a big person of history. I don't think you can ignore history in terms of how we got here with food deserts, because with everything, I feel like in our community, it's a part of what shaped us.
Yeah.
But to me, it's don't let your past determine your future.
Okay.
And so I think there's a lot of those things that we have to let go. We have to educate ourselves. I always say that, education in itself is a choice.
Mm-hmm.
When we were growing up, how many rap songs did you memorize? How many dances nowadays can these people go and memorize just like that?
Yeah. Okay.
So if entertainment is a choice, a priority for you, why can't your health be? Because it everything is a choice. The education is out there, but the parallel to it is it's just like fast food. We don't want the entertainment that's like this as educational is more. We don't want that. We want the fast food stuff that is gonna appease us right away.
And I think my takeaway is with you about choices, even when you are doing fast food. Say for example, like I give you an example, I was at McDonald's on Saturday, and instead of getting they brought back the McWraps, by the way.
Yeah.
Instead of getting the McWrap meal, like with the fries and the drink, I just got the McWrap.
Just McWrap.
Yeah,
that's a choice.
That's a choice, yeah.
That's a choice. Yeah, at that point in time, you made a better choice than what you can have. So it isn't just like, well, I'm here now, so just let me.
Yeah.
No, most places you can say, hey, I don't want that sauce on. Can I get my nuggets grilled instead of fried? Like, there's so many different options that while maybe it's not the best thing, it's better than the choice that you were going to make to begin with. So I do think that we have to recognize history, recognize that access played a role in it, recognize that governance and government played a role in it, and recognize that education played a role in it. And then now that we have that, now what choices are we going to make? And I think the people that are like us, creators like us, educators like us, get that stuff out there. Get that material out there.
Share it with us too.
Please share it with us. This is a thing about helping all. This is not about making us look good. This is, like you said, this is about trying to be a part of the solution to save our community.
For sure.
From some of those things. So that's what I would say my to-go plate is.
And I think I'm just, like I said, I piggyback off you, like choices. Just make better choices. And you don't have to start by throwing everything out the refrigerator. Start with one meal a week, like we talked about. Then two. Try, not necessarily meal prepping.
Okay.
You don't have time, but at least try, say on Sunday, let me plan out dinner for Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or
baby steps. Maybe not a whole week.
Yeah.
Because for some people that feel that could be overwhelming.
For sure. Like I know it's overwhelming for me. Like something I like to do, but I'm not consistent in. Like I like when we buy our fruit, wash it off, put it in different containers.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, like
you're ready to go.
Make the fridge look better, but like it can be taxing too.
Yes,
like
it can.
It can.
It can.
But I think trying to combine that with something as well. So if I do it on Sunday, especially I forgot how many weeks until football season, I can sit there watching football.
Yeah.
Why? You know what I'm saying? So
doing some chopping
it up.
Yeah.
Distracting myself from just this task.
Yeah.
But make better choices, because like you said, it is a domino effect. It's not about like I just fed myself for conveniency today. Like what am I putting in my body that's going to affect me 5, 10, 15 years down the road? And like, I'm not perfect because I be smashing food. Fam.
And that wings and thing, hey, now come on now, that wings and thing is fresh out.
But like he said, like even different places, like my son likes to get a 5 for $5. Instead of getting a 5 for $5, just get the wings or get the 10 piece.
Yeah.
I don't have to get the 10 piece. Let me get the 8.
Yeah.
The 6.
Everything is an incremental choice that you're making. And like you said, it comes down to also that you talked about is quantity of our meals. We didn't get to, dive into that, and we can talk about that later. But it's the quantity piece of it as well.
Right.
That I think it's about what you choose and how much of it you're choosing to consume.
And we've talked about it in the previous episode too, though. I think it goes back to what you learned.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I was told you better eat what's on your plate.
Come on.
So, yeah. But we
digress.
We digress, man. We appreciate y'all accepting our invitation to the cookout. Hopefully you took something away from this episode. If you did, hey, share it in the comments. Let us know. There's other topics that you guys want us to talk about. Hey, also too, if you know resources, please drop them in the comment section. Message us. Let us know. We appreciate you. We out.